a very, very, very belated update. I have been filming and I just haven't had time to put it together and post. So I'm gonna do a comprehensive update and then hopefully I'll have some time to kind of, put the process videos up too. But here I am in the pole barn. I'm on the inside. I'm gonna walk you through the farm and show you everything that's happened to date. So here we are in wrapping up September, and Valentine's Day is when the fence went up that separated my property from Jeff's. And that fence was really important because it kept the cows on his side. And then I was able to take the big barn down, put the greenhouse up, all that good stuff. So this has all been in the last 7 months, which is great, but I'm really tired. So I'll give you a tour and update you with everything I've been up to. The biggest thing, literally, right, is the new pole barn. And I'm so happy with it. It's taking a little longer than I'd hoped. We're thinking maybe next week to finish it up. But if you remember, you can see through the barn where that blue shipping container is where the old pole barn used to be, right? So we had to take that down. And one thing that I really stressed with the builders, and they did a really good job, was I wanted to be using a lot of those materials into this build, right? Part because aesthetically it looks cool, and also sentimentally, like Danny and his family built that barn, and I wanted to keep a part of that history on the farm. So here's the back side, and we ended up doing a chair rail with this patina metal. This was from the roof of the pole barn, and initially I was going to have the whole barn be all metal, but the problem was we couldn't get uniform sizes, right? So we decided to do a chair rail about 1/3 up. This here is some kind of like residue. It'll come off. All this white stuff will come off. I think it's just because it was outside in a pile for a while. I can probably just hose it off. And then we've got oak above it, and this will be board and batten, but they haven't put the batten strips up yet. Right? So here's our jade channel. We chose a brown color to complement the rusty patina. And then on your bottom, you've got your rat guard. And up here, so this is all wood from, I think, Fox's lumber. It's oak that was grown and harvested in Tennessee, not far from here. Then you've got your 2x6s. These were taken from the pole barn that I think Peggy said was from around the 1970s or so. So it's a really neat look under the porch. You get that old aesthetic feel to it. Here, this header, this was from the 1940s stock barn that we took down, these 2x8s. So we've got remnants of both barns in here. And then one thing that was really important was saving these oak posts. Now these oak posts were from oak trees that were grown on the property, harvested and hewn by presumably Danny and his dad. And they were the structural posts for the pole barn that we took down. And I really wanted to save them. And I thought that would be a really interesting look to the porch. So I'm very happy with it. Right, here's our greenhouse. Now when you look through the porch, remember the blue shed that I posted about? This was the red shed that was up by the driveway. And I'll do a walk back there too, but see where this pile is? That's horse manure, composted horse manure. There's a greenhouse at my farm that's a 20x40 greenhouse that's going to be here in the next few weeks. The Mennonites are going to come to my house, take it down, and then build it up here. And they're going to bring a furnace so I can heat this up for the winter. So this area is what, with the greenhouse, is going to run perpendicular to this one. It's what I'm calling the quad. And I'm hopeful to do some really interesting garden design in here with sidewalks and probably some more like traditional French themed gardens that have a lot of symmetry to them. All right, so, and this is kind of neat. So these openings for the windows, and again, I took videos of it and I just haven't put them together and posted it, but in the old stock barn, there was a stack of windows that we think are 100 years old per Peggy and Jeff. And I reglazed them myself, which was a complete disaster, and I'll never do that again. But they've got the cool wavy glass in them. And so those windows are gonna go in these window holes here. And then I've got two, let's see if I should probably back up a little bit more. Here's the door. The door will go in here, and then there's flanked by two smaller windows, and I got these from a friend in Springfield, Tennessee. and they've got the wavy glass too. I don't know much about glass production, but I think when glass used to be made, it was a different process, and it wasn't like modern day glass, which is, I mean, it's all clear. I don't know what the right word, but straight, not wavy. I know that's not the right word, but I hope you know what I mean. So here we're coming around the wraparound porch. This carve out, you know, door flanked by windows. The doors are old doors I got up in Bowling Green, Kentucky. They should go in this week. Again, the 2x6s from the pole barn, the 2x8 from the stock barn, and these beautiful cedar posts. We put them on the concrete piers. One of the big problems with these posts here, and we weren't sure if we'd be able to use them, is the bottoms were submerged under the ground. And so when the builders pulled them up, there was significant termite damage. Termites, I guess, really like wet wood. And so fortunately, once we cut the bottoms off, the termite damage had not gone up. They only liked the part that was underground. And now that we're doing piers here, we're not going to have the same issue. The floor is a product called chert. I'd never heard of it before moving to Tennessee. It's kind of like a gravelly clay. And I'm hoping sooner than later, I have to get an estimate, but I really want to concrete this soon. I just really want to be able to hang out here and enjoy the porch. But concrete, of course, is expensive. All of this is expensive. It's got to be done in stages. So this is what this view looks out on. And up there is where the big barn will be, and we'll go up there in a minute. I'll just give you a quick tour of the inside. Okay, so this side is going to remain open. There's 4 bays. You can see the contractors, they're still busy and they've got all their stuff in here. So these 2 bays right here, hopefully will be concrete at some point. And this will be an area where I'm able to teach classes and, you know, have gatherings or whatever. And we've got these beams here because someday I'd like to put a loft up. I can't afford to do that for a while, but part of this whole plan on the farm is I have to think way ahead, right? Because it's cheaper to put these in now than go back in time and redo it. So I have to think, well, I can't afford a loft now, but someday hopefully I'll be able to, so let's put them in. You got your metal trusses. This is an 812 pitch roof. And these 2 bays here will be for the tractor, lawnmower, machinery. And right now, these are my neighbors' kitchen cabinets they didn't want after they got their kitchen redone. I'm gonna put them in the barn at some point. I've been collecting really fun vintage porch items that I'm gonna have to refinish that will go on the porch here. These are, you know, pieces of Americana, these gliders and chairs that came out of the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. They're all made out of steel before production of this stuff went overseas. So I'll probably paint them themes of blue and white to match the shed. But yeah, it's quickly filling up. And this is where the old pole barn used to be. So eventually, hopefully I'll get videos up that show the men disassembling it. But right now I'm standing in what's gonna be the main front roof of the barn. And it's gonna be, this will be the view when you look out. So you'll look out at the pole barn, the orchard, the little shed. You'll see parts of the greenhouse. Got the pond over here. I've had the surveyor come out. See all these wooden stakes here? Those are the different corners for the build. Here's remnants of the pole barn still that will be used in the big barn and in finishing up the pole barn. Here are some more of the structural posts I was telling you about. You can see the termite damage on the bottom. But right now I'm having a heck of a time with deer in the orchard. It's mating season, and so the bucks are coming in and they're rubbing their heads on my baby trees, and it's rubbing the bark off, and they're killing my trees. So I'm getting a tall fence put in soon. I just found a great deal at Tractor Supply with 10-foot T-posts, and I'm gonna cut the bottoms of these off, and hopefully my fence guy, who's really talented, really nice guy, can use these tall posts as part of the deer fence, because it's very painful to watch my trees get, you know, abused by, I guess, what is the deer version of tinder. So All right. So this will be, you know, come next spring, summer, this is where the barn will be. Here are the windows I was talking about. So these were windows in the old stock barn, and Jeff and Peggy think they're about 100 years old at least. So I reglazed them, and I'm doing a blue theme throughout the property because ultimately I'm going to be doing a greenhouse business. And you know, blue is not my go-to color, but the thing is all shades of flowers are going to really show up well against the blue, like pinks and reds and yellows. So blue is the theme here. These are the ones from Springfield, Tennessee. If I did it, I know I did a bad job. I'm kind of embarrassed to even show you guys this, but that's what I've been up to. And here, look at this door. I pulled this, well, someone else pulled it. I picked it up in Chattanooga, Tennessee on Friday. I've got to have it refinished. This is from the late 1800s. And look at this detail. How beautiful. And then I've got these windows that I'm going to get reglazed. I will not reglaze another window. Not my thing. I don't have the patience. I've broken so much glass. I'm not doing it again. So those windows, here's the original transoms for them. There's the transom for this door. So I think these windows, you can see the beautiful little knobs. I think these are going to go above my kitchen sink. So I'm doing a vaulted ceiling in the kitchen. And so we need a lot of windows to let the light in, and there will be tall ceilings since it's vaulted. But yeah, here's my collection of salvaged items that continues to grow. It's kind of like with the porch stuff. One thing that's really important to me with this build is to be, I think, honoring craftsmanship of the past, right? So all of this beautiful stuff, when you're in it, I want you to feel like you were back in time. So if you remember, where this pole barn is where the stock barn was that I had taken down and buried. And it was at such a low elevation that you've seen we've had to build up a huge pad just to make it level with the driveway. So we've got to do some grading work still. But this driveway we had to cut because Middle Tennessee Electric needs a spot to put a pole. And, you know, I've been learning all the rules for electric, and there's got to be a 20-foot width span between any structure and all that good stuff. And while going underground is aesthetically more attractive, it's also terribly more expensive. So what we're doing here, if you see this orange pole, that's where they're going to drop a pole. And so what they said is, look, like, we can work with you on the pole, but you've got to make a driveway so that our trucks can get to it. So there's the pole on Jeff's property, and then we had to do an easement for me to get my wire from his property across mine. And that's where the electric pole will be dropped, the guy wire right behind it. And then I'm still waiting for my estimate back from the electricians, but be able to run electric to the pole barn and to the greenhouse, and then this little shed, have a light and an outlet in it. So where I'm standing right now is about where the greenhouse is going to be in a month, and that's going to square up what I've called the quad. And this is how the barn looks from the backside. And best efforts with the damn deer and this fence, but had some problems with the electric box I got, and it's been very tricky to keep all of the grass cut, and I know that will trip the wire. So, and it's not that tall. The idea was, I think I did a video on this. The idea is, well, from what I read, it's got to either be 8 foot tall, or you got to have 2 strands that's tall enough for them to clear. But if they want to get in, they're going to get in. And they sure as heck got in, and I think 4 trees at this point they've had a good time with. Here's the garden. Did a video about this with all the growing and delivering I do to different organizations. It's holding on there pretty good. I have not had a lot of time to weed it. Pretty dry summer. And some things in here are annuals, like these cosmos and celosia. So what I'm going to do probably in a couple weeks is try to save as much seed as I can from the blooms that are spent, and then there's quite a few perennials in here right now. The roses, and I think some of the dahlias are going to come back. Here's cotton. I gotta harvest this soon. This is like old school cotton. That's what cotton looks like. Apparently, I don't remember the history exactly, but you know, white cotton, I think that's my green, my light green kind, but white cotton was kind of a thing of prestige, right? And these here with the natural fibers, I think was, you know, more common amongst rural poor folks. And there's some history with the Civil War in this one, and I can't remember. I need to like look back on my notes that are in a big pile somewhere in my very disorganized home right now. The lavender and rosemary. Do you remember that video I did when they were just little tiny plugs? I mean, they're huge plants now. These are all the ones I propagated. And I'll do that again. I mean, gosh, it just takes time, but they were little tiny baby things. And when you go to a greenhouse, these are probably, you'll probably pay $12 for something like that. So pretty happy with it. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do this winter to protect it, but we'll figure it out. I'll take you in the orchard quick. Orchard is generally looking good, minus the stuff from the deer damage. This one tree right here doesn't seem to be wanting to come back. This was my Reliance, where I posted about peach borers. That one behind it is Contender. That one is doing phenomenal. Got grapes that got pruned by the deer. Apple trees. That one blueberry, I don't know what the heck happened to it, but the rest are doing all right. Had a lot of sporadic rain. I mean, let me say that again. It's been dry. And then the rain, we had 1 week that was very wet, but overall it's been dry. So I need to do some thinking about more consistent irrigation, because I'm always out here with a hose and it takes a long, long time. And pomegranate. Also, still got a weed eat, and then I've got a mulch. You're supposed to have grass really far away from the roots and just can't get to everything, but these are my wine grapes. Okay, here, I'll show you the deer damage. This tree was doing so good. This was one of my Rainier cherries. And I'm hoping that this one will make it. You can see where the deer rubbed its head. But the other side is not damaged, and right here is okay. So I'm hoping that this one will come through. I just sprayed it the other day with some deer repellent, but they come and they just rub their heads all over this. And you can see how the bark is stripped. I mean, this was one of my pear trees. Totally decimated it. There you go. And I have a guest. My friend Pam and Mike are here, and I've got to show them the farm. But this is good timing because it wraps up the tour, and I'm going to try to be more consistent with posting. So in the next month, we've got deer fence, we've got pole barn being done, we've got the greenhouse being moved. And then the big barn should be started probably in 2 weeks. We'll start on the foundation. So what are we, end of September? So by November 1, it's gonna look quite a bit different.